Okay, well, good Monday afternoon, New York Jet fans and NFL fans. It is April 28th, 2025, about 4:17 p.m., and you are watching The Takeoff. My name is Alex, and it is gorgeous out here. It is a beautiful late Monday afternoon here. It's got to be like 80-something degrees, and it's hard to believe that, you get into football mode just by going to the draft a couple of days back. But here we are, 2-3 days removed from the draft. I'm going to review what I think how the Jets did. I'm also going to review what the Giants did, slightly. And also we'll talk about Shedeur Sanders and how he went late in the draft. And also a little bit of how, Jet-related, there was an issue with Shedeur over the weekend. But let's get it started. So draft party was Thursday night, and this is a tradition that my family and I do every year. We have been going since MetLife Stadium opened. We've been going to draft parties. The first one was actually in the concourse of MetLife Stadium, with in the background Giant Stadium being demoed and taken down to make that a parking lot for later that when the season started. Since the stadium opened, so it was 2010, stadium's open, it's going to be 16 seasons. I only missed 2 draft parties. One, of course, was 2020 when nobody was allowed. There was no draft party. The draft was only held with live when the draft was taking place, and only a select few people were there with masks on and whatnot. And then the second one was the following year, where it was 2 nights before my daughter's Sweet 16 and my younger daughter's Sweet 16, and we were worried about getting sick before the Sweet 16 or carrying something from the crowd. So we're back. It's great to get there because you do get into NFL mode. You get into football mode, and you're in the middle of April. You're at the end of, or end of April. And look at me now, t-shirt, hat, the sun is out, we're talking football. So it was great to be over there. I will give this to the Giants. Now the Jets and Giants, yes, they share a stadium, blah, blah, blah. They also share the draft party. And they split the stadium in half, and one end zone says Jets, one end zone says Giants. You go to the Giant locker room, go to the Jet locker room. They have an MC from the Giants. They have Bart Scott from the Jets hosting, the party on stage. They use the same DJ, whatever. Props to the Giants. They signed Russell Wilson this past offseason, and usually at the draft party, you don't get big names. And not that Russell Wilson is the Russell Wilson of 6 years ago, 8 years ago, but he comes here after, I guess, having, his a little tarnish on with him and Pete Carroll in Seattle. Then he goes to Denver. Nothing really helps him in Denver. Then he goes to Pittsburgh, and after taking over a 4-2 team or whatever it is, really doesn't do much. And Mike Tomlin lets him go, and the Steelers let him go. So he comes to the Giants, who got rid of Daniel Jones, and they're looking for an identity. And not that I think he is going to be, this superstar, but he gives them some substance. He has a world championship behind him. He has, of course, won it in MetLife Stadium. He also has experience behind him and leadership qualities. And I think that'll go a long way with this Giant team. He shows up to the draft party. He goes up on stage. They're hyping him up. They're playing his wife's songs in the background. He tosses like 4 or 5, autographed footballs into the crowd, and I really got to give Giants props for doing that. You never really see anything like that. Last year Rodgers wasn't there, but 2 different spectrums. Yes, they both share Super Bowls and whatnot, but I just thought it was a great look for Russell Wilson to be there. Hey, I'm here to make a difference. I'm here to be part of this team and part of this community, which was great. The Giants did pick up a quarterback with their second pick. They got a running back with their first pick. The running back in the first pick, I believe. So I think they did well overall, the Giants. I won't go too deep into them. Before I get to the Jets, the other big story of the weekend was Shedeur Sanders and what team and at what number was he going to go and be drafted. Now, some say he was a top 5, others say he was a top 10. Others say there's no way he should not be picked on the first night. His father, and everybody knows primetime. If you're my age, or a little younger, primetime, Dallas, Atlanta, New York Yankee, San Fran, whichever. He comes out and says something like, my son, if he gets called by the Browns, he's not going to play there. It's not a place for a young quarterback. I don't know. He goes into some details. There was also rumors that Shedeur himself, when he met with teams, kind of through the interview to give them bad taste in their mouth, so they wouldn't draft him. Others say that he didn't throw it, but that's just the way he is. He's very cocky. I don't know, but he goes late into this draft. I think he was drafted on Saturday by the Cleveland Browns. So now, anytime after the second round, he's a bargain to get because, his contract's not going to be as high. The spotlight's not going to be there. But you're also going to Cleveland where, like New York, sometimes quarterback goes to die. QBs go to die. So, does he get the start right off the bat? Does he have to fight for it? Does his father then fight for him to get off the team? Does he force a trade? So this ongoing soap opera is not going to end unless Sanders humbles himself and gets on the depth chart and works his way up. I don't know, but we shall see. And I'm sure that every time Cleveland hosts something with their players, whether it's OTAs, involuntary, voluntary, mandatory, what have you, all eyes will be on when he pulls up, how he pulls up, and how he acts and interacts with everybody. So let's get to the Jets. Now, I thought the Jets did very well in their picks. They did not make the flashy, back page headlines picks where you'd say, oh my God, they got the guy. This wasn't a Keyshawn Johnson pick, of years ago when they got the number 1 overall. They went with Keyshawn. Everybody knew off the bat he was going to be really good. This wasn't a Darrelle Revis pick. This was what I think is Aaron Glenn's philosophy and program. And like Aaron Glenn says, he likes to build from the inside out, and that's what he did. So last year, the Jets picked up Fashanu as offensive lineman. This year, they go with Armand Membao, and I have his name, and I have the list next to me, so if you see me looking down, he is a tackle. The highlights that they put on in the stadium after he was picked from ESPN and NFL Network, and then what I saw when I got home, the kid's a beast. He's listed as 6'4", 332. When he stands straight up, he's just pushing people like a bulldozer. Yes, I think he runs like a 4-something 40 or whatever it is. And, as my buddy George pointed out, no offensive lineman is going to, run straight without anybody in him. But just to show his agility and stamina and speed, can he be like what Kevin Mawai and DeBrickashaw and Mangold were to the running game? I think he's going to give Justin Fields a lot of time and open up holes for the running back. Also, when Justin runs the pass run option, he may give Justin those openings as well. So I think that was a really good pick. Like I said, it wasn't flashy. They didn't go after Sanders. They didn't go after the quarterback. They look like they're invested in Justin Fields right now, even though they picked up a quarterback in an undrafted free agency. So they went with Armand Membao. Second pick, and I didn't realize this. I actually thought it was his nephew, but it's his son. It's Mason Taylor, and he is Jason Taylor, the former Miami Dolphin and New York Jet son. He's a tight end. He holds the record with 100 receptions for tight ends at LSU. I think last year he had 50-something receptions. The scouting report on him is that he could block and he could catch. We have not had a tight end like that in a long time. And again, this will help with Justin Fields, not only in the passing game, but also the running game. If he could block, he'll be able to, pass block, pick up a blitz, and also open up Breece Hall or whoever is back there's running the rock. Third pick, they go defense. They go 2 offensive players, which is unheard of on the first 2 picks for the Jets, and then they go defense, and they get cornerback His last name was Thomas. I forgot what I wrote down here. Uh, he had 52 tackles, over 12 starts last year. So he looks good. The pick after that, they went wide receiver, Smith. Now, he is tall. He has big hands. He has some speed. But they also say he has a lot of big drops. Now, the Jets have never really had good wide receiver picks from the second round or a little later. So we got to hope that he could work out. It'd be nice if he could work out in there with Lazard and Garrett and the tight ends and whatnot. And let's see, because Breece Hall can also catch the ball out of the backfield. So this kid may not be a starter this year, but he could be a good work in progress. His speed also shows that he could be a good punt returner or kickoff returner, so that would help. Then they went with a safety and they went with a defensive end. So they went 1, 2, 3 offense, and then 1, 2, 3, 4 looks like defense. So little even picks. I give them a C+ on the draft. And the reason why I do that is, besides the first 2 picks, the other ones are not going to be starters. I do think they're going to start this kid, Mumbo, right away, just to get him working with Fashanu and just get that offensive line anchored down. You got to remember, we have Vera Tucker on that line. I mean, the offensive line right now is young. I mean, Vera Tucker, yes, is prone to injury, but they are young and they can gel together. And it does remind me, and I'm not putting them on the same level yet, of Brick and Mangold and that group that basically anchored for Mark Sanchez for many years. So a C+ on the draft. Just to go back to Shedeur Sanders and a Jet angle in it. So over the weekend, it was reported, I think it was on TikTok, and this is how you know that Sanders is too much on social media. He received a prank phone call from somebody stating that they were working with the New Orleans Saints. I think they said they were the GM for the New Orleans Saints, and they were speaking to him. And basically, it turns out that it was not true. It was 2 kids, or 2 young adults. After everything surfaced, it was reported that ex-interim head coach of the New York Jets and ex-defensive coordinator of the New York Jets, Jeff Ulbrich, his son, obtained Shedeur Sanders' phone number from the father's iPad and called him. Now, Ulbrich is the defensive coordinator over at Atlanta. Atlanta initiated a statement. I don't know if Coach Ulbrich did, but his sons did. They basically, they said they were sorry, they asked for forgiveness. But that's just a circus that is around Sanders right now. And that is a problem with social media. As I'm telling you this, as I'm going to post this on social media. But, even if I would have recorded myself being pranked, why did they release that? But anyway. So, overall, I was pleased with the Jets' picks. At one point, I did think they were going to get Sanders. When they got to the 3rd round, I said, you know what? Contract now is not going to be as big as a top 10 pick or even a 1st-round pick. The expectations of him, but to have him in New York, I mean, I can remember Tim Tebow being here and the media just following Tim Tebow around and saying, oh, he tossed the ball into a bucket. Tim Tebow ran without a shirt on. Brett Favre was given the key to the city right after he was signed. Aaron Rodgers, so maybe it's good. Justin Fields is right now flying under the radar. He's gotten some weapons. They're anchoring down his offensive line. And I really think this is going to be a good offensive line. I think this offense is starting to build. And it's not built just around the skill set of a Super Bowl champion wide quarterback, but possibly on the skill set of a quarterback that has not proven how good he could really be. He is young. He's 24, 25 years old, and they may, the Jets may have picked up a quarterback of the future in free agency at a very young age. Now, he has not proven anything yet, but it is possible. Sorry, just looking around because it's usually deer and stuff around here, that we may have picked up a quarterback for many years to come. And I remember, and here comes a deer. I remember when the Jets signed Vinny Testaverde. My father liked Testaverde, partially because I think he came from New York and he was Italian. And I was not a fan. And I remember watching him in preseason, and my father was hyping him up, and the commentators during the preseason games were hyping him up. And it wasn't until we got into the season, after he beat the Miami Dolphins early in the season, I think it was like week 3 or 4, that I felt comfortable with him. And he proved that he could learn new things after playing in the NFL for a few years, or in his case, a handful, a lot of years, and adapt to the offense that is put around you. I think Aaron Glenn wants to do that. Aaron Glenn is very quietly putting his mark on this team. And how I know that this coach is not falling right now. Now, it's still early. I mean, he was hired a couple of months back, had some, press conferences, talked about, the voluntary, workouts and whatnot, or the mandatory workouts, whatever they had. But what I liked was back after his introductory press conference, before anything came out about Aaron Rodgers, they asked him about Aaron Rodgers, and he said something like, the team is not built around one man. So he set the foundation there. Thursday night, now after the Jets picked their only pick on Thursday night, they held a press conference out of Florham Park, and it was a GM, and it was Aaron Glenn, and of course Woody Johnson. And a reporter asked, what is your thoughts on how Aaron Rodgers reacted to the media and on the Pat McAfee show about him being released by the Jets after flying across country? And without missing a beat, without blinking an eye, Aaron Glenn spoke about Membu and their first pick, and how he likes him, and how he feels he's going to, be part of this team and really contribute and really work out here. So now, was he fed that question prior to going on camera and he knew how to answer it? Or is that the way he is? And I really thought that he handled the question in a very professional way, but also got his point across. Like, Aaron Rodgers is now past news with this team. He's in the statistics of billing for the New York Jets for 2 seasons, and we moved on. And my starting quarterback right now is Justin Fields, and my first round pick was Armand Membu, and let's talk about him. So I give props to Aaron Glenn for that. I do like that. We have not had a coach like this probably, and I'm not going to say Rex, because Rex adored answering questions in front of the cameras. And I could see Rex being asked about Aaron Rodgers and him just going off on a 10-minute, tangent, or, just talking about Aaron Rodgers and why he's not here and how they're going to be better. Aaron Glenn didn't give it 2 seconds to think about it. He just put up in his head how he was going to answer. He knew how he was going to answer, and if that's the way he feels or not, he has moved on from Aaron Rodgers, and he wants his team to move on from Aaron Rodgers. And that's the way it needs to be. When Brett Favre so-called retired from the NFL and the Jets, Mark Sanchez came in, and the Jets went 3-0 under Sanchez at one point and went to the AFC Championship game. So talks of Brett Favre went away quickly, only having Brett Favre for a season. So Glenn right now, Coach Glenn is speaking about his team now, not in the past, not, what happened last year, not what happened with Namath. He's talking about his team now. This is all he can control. Another thing that I like now, if you're a Jet fan or a Miami Dolphin fan, Jason Taylor was never really a fan favorite of the Jets, and he never liked the Jets either until he came here, and he came within a game of going to the Super Bowl. But he was emotional the other night. He had a house full of people. When his son was drafted, they actually spoke to him as well, and he had them lead them in the Jets chant. I think you're going to see Jason Taylor be part of the Jet community. Now, I don't know if they're going to bring him in as, an alumni with the Jets, but I could definitely see him at a lot of home games. I could definitely see him making an appearance at this training camp. And also see him, maybe not stepping up at training camp and giving his son, not just a spotlight, but a day at the office where Dad's not there, because it's got to be that he's asked about his father everywhere he goes. So, I just think that's a good thing. There's some relations there with the Jet pick and Jet alumni. So, all in all, I think this is one of the better drafts the Jets have had. Again, you could pick, all the superstars until they put on the pads, get between the lines, and try to execute your plays. But right now, from where I'm standing, I see the Jets building a foundation on the offensive line, protecting their young quarterback. I see the Jets trying to get Sauce some help. I see the Jets trying to get some pass rushers. And I see Aaron Glenn putting his stamp on this team. Saleh came over and everybody said, Saleh was the hot pick, the coordinator who needed a get-back guy. The players loved him. San Fran's defense, blah, blah, blah. And he came here, and yes, the Jet defense for, maybe a season and a half was really overachieving. But when he had to play head coach and face adversity, he really did not step up the way he could. Now, of course, we don't know what Aaron Glenn is going to do or how he's going to react. We don't know what's going to happen if there's a bump in the road. And with the Jets, there will be quite a few bumps in the road. We've seen it, But right now, April 28th, a couple of days, before May. And look at it this way. I said earlier, we're in April. We've had some, football feel to things. In a couple of days, you're going to have some workouts. Before you know it, it's going to be June. And I think then the rookies have to report. And before you know it, you're going to be in basically training camp mode. May 15th, the schedule comes out, which is awesome. We'll see who we're playing. We'll see who we're going to be going up against in London. And I mean, we're in the midst of football phasing back in. And I love my Yankees, I love my Rangers, and, I root for the Knicks. But as far as sports go, I live and die with the Jets. And yes, they have been killing me for 39 years, maybe 40 years, 45 years. So we shall see how this progresses. I'm not expecting huge steps, but I do like the direction we're going. And that could change quickly also, but I do like the direction we're going. I do like that we're trying to establish an identity again. Without Aaron Rodgers' team, we are not the Darrelle Revis' team. We are the New York Jets. We have to, as Rex would say, play like a Jet. Well, play like a successful football team and organization. And, we'll see where that goes. So again, just to take off, my name is Alex. Follow us on Twitter. @the Jets Takeoff is our Twitter handle. Tweet us, let us know how you feel. Email us @thejets_takeoff@gmail.com, or I should say thejets_takeoff@gmail.com is our email address. And also follow us, subscribe to us, refer us. We're on YouTube. The name of the account where you can watch these videos is The Takeoff. The channel is The Jets Takeoff. I will take any type of feedback, any type of criticism. I don't care. Just don't get personal. And that's it. So I will try to get some more reports out as news comes out. But like this part of the season's a little slow, but we'll try to get things out. Have a great rest of your week. Be safe. Have a blessed day, a blessed day. Be healthy, and we'll talk soon.